Kendall Bryan. I'm a native of Jacksonville, fourth generation resident of District 14. I won't go into my life story, but I'm married to Grace, formerly Grace Herzog. We met in 5th grade at St. Mark's. We have a 5-year-old son as of a week ago named Henry, who also goes to St. Mark's.
Wow.
The reason why I'm running is pretty simple, being that we've been here for 5 generations now. I think one of the things I've noticed in talking to my dad that he's noticed is the city's always kind of been grasping for something that it's never able to obtain. And I would like to see Jacksonville be a success. I just don't think the way we're currently going is going to get there. So my hope is to limit the size of government, to keep taxes low, and spending under control, so that individuals who want to take a risk and start a business can feel free to do so without fear of being punished for being successful or subsidized for being a failure. So,
all right.
I tried to keep it short and sweet.
That's
I
good.
know
No,
I like you like to be on time.
We will. Well, we will develop these things as we go.
Sure.
And along those lines, what do you consider to be the absolute core functions of a local government?
Really, it extends even all the way to federal government to me. I mean, I look at it from the basis of, say, the Declaration. To me, that set the philosophy. You know, we're the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. To me, I have the right to live, right to be free, and the right to pursue my goals. And I think what the founders did is they looked at that and said, since men are not angels, you have to have some sort of limited form of government that secures those rights. And I think those are things like police and fire, the things that secure your ability to interact with one another without fear of force or coercion. And that also helps us trade with one another without fear of being robbed blind or someone coming into your home and taking everything you own. So I think it's a core function. I do think there's infrastructure issues, and it's stuff typically that the free market can't provide because it's not profitable, or it's like highway systems. That's not something that we can do individually. So that's my basic belief. It's a limited form of government.
All right, and what specific savings do you believe that we can find in the upcoming city budgets? And specifically, we're looking for things like specific programs or areas, the Jacksonville Journey, the JADC, the Cultural Council, the Children's Commission, special events, and then the big one, of course, is public safety.
Right. Well, the public safety, I think that's stuff that can come down to pension reform. I know one of the questions with the drop grant, I think, was that Rick Scott talked today about eliminating that altogether. Because I think actuarially that type of system is just no longer feasible. I mean, nobody else in the world really has it. I mean, it's something the private sector got away from a long time ago. As far as specific areas to cut, I mean, a 450-page budget, I'm sure there's room somewhere, but I mean, if you take one like the Human Rights Commission, for instance, I don't know why we fund that, and I don't know what authority they have that's above and beyond the entire United States judicial system. So it seems like a duplicated effort. To me, what I think needs to be done personally is a lot like a computer. When you get a new computer, it's fast, everything runs great, but it doesn't do everything you needed to do, so you add a program to it. And you keep adding these programs to it until they start conflicting with one another and they start using up resources. And the only way to solve before getting that blue screen of death, which is what we're facing, that crash, you have to uninstall some programs and defrag the disk. And I don't know of, I mean, I'm 38, and I don't know of any time in my life the city's ever been defragged. And I think that's literally, I mean, it sounds silly, but I think that needs to happen. And I think that conversation needs to be had about what people expect from their city, because if they want more, they're going to have to pay for it. I mean, there's no other way to get the money.
All right. Conrad.
What do you believe to be, what do you believe is the solution to the city employee pension problem, and what steps would you take as a council member to work toward that solution?
I think actuarially or mathematically, I'm in the healthcare field, and when you go to school in healthcare, one of the ticking time bombs they already talked about was the year 2011, because that's when all the baby boomers start to officially retire, and we're there now, and nothing's changed up to this point. You've got that, you've got people my age having fewer children, you've got people living longer, so they're long, which is great, but that comes with additional healthcare costs, and healthcare costs are rising. So to me, it's rethinking the entire program, and the difficulty is we're all sort of at fault because we elected the people that gave us all these systems, and we've made promises to these folks. So I have a hard time going in there and just sort of pulling the rug out from under people that have made promises to, because I'm sort of the man of my words, So it's almost like from this point forward, we need to put a new structure in place. And I know they don't like it because it creates that two-tiered system, but we're at the point now where the tax rate for my son would be astronomical to cover the cost of all the things we're trying to do. So you know, obviously the mayor has more say-so in that unless it comes to the council, but I think we need to rethink the way we do it.
Thank you.
Are there any fees that have been put in place with the current government that you would attempt to reduce or remove? And if so, how would you recover any revenue shortfall that results from removing such fees or reducing them?
Well, I'm not for increasing revenue to the city, because I don't think it's a revenue issue. I think it's just too much spending. But there was one example that I always used is like your sprinkler, the well fee, you know, for digging a well. You have your own private property, you want to dig a well in the backyard, you got to get a permit from the city now for $300. And you want to dig that well because you want to put in a sprinkler system. Well, that's another $300. So now you've got $600 built into putting a sprinkler system in your own backyard. So now the guy that owns a sprinkler company has to now try to figure out how to not get around it, but work with that and develop a business plan where he can remain successful based on sort of these arbitrary fees. Because as far as I know, if the actual cost of the permit is $300, nobody from the city is there at my house with a shovel digging a hole. So I think all those fees need to be looked at to determine which ones are truly necessary for a limited government to do. If there's some that can be privatized, we need to look at that. And if there's some that are simply there to increase revenue, then there's no point in having them.
Right. Like what?
Oh, okay. I always get the sole source.
You
Okay.
did.
In your view, the granting, what is your opinion on granting of sole source contracts for work materials, and what justifies them, and at what point are they necessary? What point are they not necessary? Is there a threshold at where you would require RFPs and below that you would not?
To me, that comes down to sort of a free market belief, and it's one of those things you either believe in the free market or you don't. So I think open competition is the most fair way to do it, because it causes people to have to be lean and efficient in order to compete effectively to get business. So, you know, I think one of the questions on the thing was about the Trail Ridge, which I was scored badly for, but I mean, truthfully, if that was the issue, is opening up for bidding, then I think that is in the best interest of taxpayers, is to have everything open so people can see what they're getting. If you just sign a long-term contract like that, there's no guarantee that that's going to save money over the long run. You can't tell that far in the future. I mean, we're on a year-to-year budget, and they can't get that right. So the idea that you can do it over a 30-year period is stretching it a little bit. All right. So to me, I'm a believer in the fair market, and I believe in competition. And if it's open for bidding, let the best man win.
Oh, the threshold.
You mean the dollar amount
Yes,
for?
yes.
I mean, I don't know how the market can't work at any threshold.
Okay. All right.
I don't like the arbitrary numbers, because I don't think you can get a group of people in a room to outthink millions of people doing what's in their own rational self-interest to allow the market to work.
What will you do to encourage transparency and public access to government and public participation in the legislative process?
I don't know, because I think government should be open. I don't think there should really be anything to hide. And I know one of the questions was on the ethics panel, whether I agreed with that or not. And it wasn't the idea that I wanted to do something shady. It was just the idea that that would increase the size of government again, and then they would have to be funded, and then who's going to watch them? I mean, it's this never-ending cycle of watchdogs, and plus they'd all be appointed by politicians. So to me, I have no problem with open government. I mean, it's not something that would be an issue for me, because I consider myself a fairly ethical person.
Okay, now you're in a race that has 6 qualified, going to be on the ballot folks. So the question is, what distinguishes you from your opponents, and specifically will make you, and not one of them, the right choice for the voters in this contest?
There are a lot of nice people running, because I know quite a few of them. One of them taught my sister in 2nd grade, and the other one, well, the same one actually, my son tried to learn how to swim in her pool before I knew she was even interested in politics, which is Jill. And I've always said from the beginning, I'm not necessarily running against them when I'm running for the city council seat. I think what distinguishes me is the fact that I think the only one in this race who was actually born and raised in the district. And we've been here for 5 generations. I think looking back in November at the results of that election, it was a fairly strong conservative message that was sent. And knowing what I know of the other ones as far as being conservative, I'd say I fit that bill pretty well. And I think that's what distinguishes them. I think it's more message than personalities or anything, so I think they're all good people.
Your family's been here longer than there's been a district, but
No, they started in Springfield in 1910, and when we opened our company, they became successful. They moved to Belvedere, and they've been in Avondale, Ortega ever since.
okay.
All right, assuming that concerned taxpayers of Duval County were to officially endorse you, what actions, if any, would you take to inform the electorate of this fact or conceal it?
Wouldn't conceal it.
I know.
I mean, no, I mean,
That's, hey, do
Stick-
not deviate
yes,
from the writing.
yes, Mr. Chairman.
script. No, I mean, it'd be a proud endorsement. I think the work you guys do is great. I mean, y'all certainly bring a lot of things to light that most people just glance over and don't pay attention to. I think people are busy and they just don't have time, so it's one of those groups you hope you do well in front of, so no, I wouldn't hide it.
Okay,